I don't believe anyone should be forced to take the vaccine. It should be your personal choice. You should make the choice based on your health, based on the decisions you want.
We as Americans can make our own choices.
Thank you.
For our own families, for our own bodies.
If I'm elected governor here in Arkansas, we will not have mask mandates. We will not have mandates on the vaccine. We will not shut down churches and schools and other large gatherings because we believe in personal freedom and responsibility. That's one of the key cornerstones, frankly, of our country.
Oh, yeah. The right has been all about my body, my choice when it comes to vaccines and masks. But conveniently, that personal freedom does not apply to abortion. They've been trying to overturn Roe v. Wade ever since abortion became legal in 1973. And now, thanks to Trump and Mitch McConnell's successful efforts to install conservative justice on the Supreme Court and lower courts, quite frankly, they may finally get their chance, despite the fact that a majority of Americans support abortion rights. In a filing yesterday, lawyers for the state of Mississippi asked the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, as well as a later case, Planned Parenthood v. Casey. Now, they wrote that the case for overruling Roe and Casey is overwhelming. Roe and Casey are egregiously wrong, they say. The conclusion that abortion is a constitutional right has no basis in text, structure, history, or tradition. Now, the court will hear the case in the fall, but Mississippi is far from the only state where Republicans are trying to take away a woman's right to choose. This year alone, 97 abortion restrictions have been enacted in 19 states, and 10 states have laws banning all or nearly all abortions. Now, those laws would be triggered if Roe v. Wade is overturned. Joining me now, Alexis McGill-Johnson, President and CEO of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, and my pal, Maria Teresa Kumar, President and CEO of Voto Latino. Ladies, I'm so happy to have you here. I'm going to start with you, Alexis, because I don't think people understand that you are not going to force a woman to carry a child to term if that is not her choice. I want you to take a moment and explain to our viewers what a society looks like when abortion is outlawed everywhere.
Oh, well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is not going to stop people from seeking access to abortion. It means they will have less access to safe abortion. It means they will have to travel many miles out of state into other states with other restrictions. If Roe is overturned because of this case, and clearly Mississippi's AG has said the quiet parts out loud, what we are looking at is roughly 25 million women living in approximately 26 states that are poised to outlaw abortion outright. And so it continues to mean that our control over our bodies, this has always been about our control, right? It's never been about choice. It's been about whether or not we could control or the state could control our bodies to force pregnancy in cases where people decided that they did not want to be pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just be a little more graphic so people understand. I mean, we're going back to coat hangers and seedy hotels and women being killed by bootleg, seedy doctors claiming to be able to help them. That is not what we want in a society that claims to care about women. Maria, I will tell you, the thing that really bothers me is this is not about the protection of fetus or children. Mississippi, according to U.S. News World Report, they rank dead last in health care. In the economy, they rank 48th. They also rank 48th in infrastructure. This is for the same crowd, the Republican conservative crowd, who cheered on kids in cages, who said, we don't care about people showing up at the border, desperate mothers and children seeking refuge. How can we take them seriously when it comes to agency over our own bodies?
This is the thing. If we can level with the American people, with your public, we recognize that what the Republicans are trying to do is say you cannot have agency over your body. But if you're wealthy, you'll have access to whatever health care you need, including abortion care. This is, once again, a fight against the poor and not giving people and women the agency over their own body to make decisions for them. At the same time, you have a Republican Party who's encouraging people not to take the vaccine because they should have agency to make a choice, even though that person could be COVID, basically could have COVID and sadly infect a lot of people. So this is the hypocrisy. And at the end of the day, when we want to have a frank conversation about who will access abortion under these new laws, it will be rich women. sadly. It will not be the middle class and it will not be the poor. And we have to make sure that regardless of socioeconomic status, every single woman has an agency over her body, full stop.
Full stop. We talked a bit about polling and public support for abortions in the open, Alexis. And so this false notion that Americans are too undecided or the abortion is too much of a polarizing issue to decide this case without judges to interfere. I suppose polling is important, I guess, for argument's sake. Let's say it is. My personal opinion is I don't care about the polling. I don't care about other people's opinion. If a woman doesn't want to do it, her opinion is the only one that matters. How seriously should we take any polling when it comes to this issue, given that it doesn't really matter, especially if it's going against the will of the people?
Well, I mean, I think it is about the will of the people, right? And I actually think polling in this regard actually can be very instructive because we know that 80% of Americans believe that Roe should be the law of the land, and there is literally no state where banning abortion is popular, even in these states that are putting up the most unconstitutional, blatant restrictions on access to abortion. That in Texas, the state where Senator Cruz is proudly talking about choice, has passed a 6-week unconstitutional ban that not only criminalizes providers accessing abortion, the procedure after 6 weeks, also places a bounty on anybody who supports someone getting access to abortion. So I actually think the polling in this case is very instructive because no one in these states actually wants this to happen. You have a vocal minority of state legislators who have control of the power, and they are wielding that power to make decisions about our bodies. I would no rather have, Senator Cruz or any other state legislator making this choice for me than I know I can make for myself, right? This is about trusting women. It is making sure that we understand that we can control the decisions around access to our body. And like Maria Teresa said, I mean, full stop. There is just no question about it.